I think the statement living with Crohn's is such a misnomer. Anybody who knows anything about Crohn's, you can't really live with Crohn's. You're missing your whole life because you're scoping out bathrooms. That's how it was for me. I got diagnosed in college. I think it was 91. Developed my own healing method, and my remission started in 93 or 94, over 30 years. I went to a doctor, I think I was maybe 10 years into my remission, different doctor, and she tried telling me I must have been misdiagnosed.
This is the Two Healers podcast, where we explore health and wellness through a holistic and integrative lens. I'm your host, Dr. Adri Bryant, bringing you insightful conversations with experts from around the world who are transforming the way we approach well-being. Hello, everyone. Today I'm beyond excited to introduce our special guest. She's Jennifer Juniper, and Jennifer is a Crohn healing coach dedicated to helping people heal and thrive despite chronic illness, guiding others to reclaim their inner health. In today's episode, we'll be diving into her healing journey, the biggest misconceptions about Crohn disease, and practical strategies for managing the symptoms in an holistic way. I promise you that this conversation is going to blow your mind. So get comfortable and take a deep breath, and let's begin. Jennifer, thank you
Hello,
very much
Dr.
for being here.
Adri. Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to you for accept our invitation and for participate and being present here.
I'm excited. I'm on a mission. I'm very passionate about our body's innate healing forces, and any way that I can spread this into the world from people that are suffering and hurting, I welcome it.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. For all the people that is watching us right now, and some of them probably they don't know what's Crohn disease about, what you will tell them?
Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are known as inflammatory bowel disease. The only difference between Crohn's and ulcerative colitis is only in your colon and can effectively be cured. You can take out your colon, get a colostomy bag, and go on with your life. Crohn's affects your entire digestive system, from your mouth to your rectum. You can't live without your entire digestive system. So that's not an option. It's a lot of inflammation, narrowing strictures that can sometimes close all of the way and become obstructions. A lot of heartburn, usually a lot of bloating, a lot of gas, very tired, lots of fatigue, like waking up tired, just always tired, really like having the flu that will never go away. That's probably the best way to explain it. And it's an autoimmune disease, so it shares that category with like rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's. These are things, diseases, autoimmune are the immune system, our immune system is to protect us, right? We see a threat, we protect us. Autoimmune, it's the opposite. Our very immune system that should be protecting us is now attacking us.
Yeah, it's an autoimmune inflammatory chronic condition, right? Because
Yes.
it doesn't have any cure. You can just control it.
The doctor who diagnosed me said in order to cure it, we have to know what causes it. And we don't know what causes it.
Can you share us a little bit about your personal journey with Crohn disease? How was for you living with this condition, and what led you to become a healing coach?
I think the statement living with Crohn's is such a misnomer. Anybody who knows anything about Crohn's, you can't really live with Crohn's. You're missing your whole life because you're scoping out bathrooms. That's how it was for me. The main thing I always needed to know was where was the closest bathroom. So that's always taking up, like, always an open tab on your mind's browser. You're wondering where it is. You're worried about what I was going to eat, if it would move through me, okay. If it would turn to razor blades dipped in Tabasco is the best way I could explain my disease. That's what my digestive process felt like. And I started to get symptoms when I was 15. They were embarrassing symptoms, gas, bloating, diarrhea, things that you don't want to discuss with anyone, especially as a teenager. I'm already embarrassed. I'm already awkward. So I don't tell anybody about it for 6 years. Some people close to me know, but I just brush it off, right? It's probably something I ate. Maybe it's the flu, a flu that lasts 6 years. Um, but having a chronic illness follows the grief process. So when you look at grief being loss, well, to have a chronic illness is a loss. It's a loss of a body function. It's a loss of your autonomy. It's a loss of trust. Oh, I know how my body will behave. Oh, no, I don't know how my body will behave. So that denial being the first stage of grief, I can tell you is true. For 6 years, I denied my sickness, got into college, felt called to get a psychology degree. I loved the mind. Like, how does it work? How do we think? I always thought it was kind of neat. And I had a social worker. I was a very troubled kid, which is where a lot of the trauma is what helped my disease come into fruition. I had a social worker that really changed my life. So I wanted to be that. And then trying to go to college with Crohn's was very hard, and I ended up in the hospital.
How was that you ended up in the hospital? And also, how having this Crohn disease condition affect you in the way that how you were perceiving yourself and in your self-confidence?
Well, I already didn't have a lot of self confidence. I might have had a little of self confidence because trauma teaches you to be very resilient. So I was very independent, and I think that looked like self confidence. But deep down, I felt my self esteem was very low. My parents were divorced, so that kind of fed some of my self confidence too. I didn't feel very loved or cared for or wanted. So when I got sick, that just amplified all of those feelings. Like, yep, there's something wrong with me. I remember thinking that so often. There's something wrong with me. My body is broken. I'm not like other kids. I'm less than other people because they all can eat whatever they want. They're not wondering where the bathroom is, especially when you're young. Your body should be working great. So it really made me question who I could be around because I never knew when my symptoms would flare. So I always stayed on the periphery of my social circle because I can't really release gas around a bunch of people. I might have to leave. I might have to go stay in the bathroom for a really long time. It erodes your self-confidence and your friendships, honestly. So I ended up in the hospital because I actually went to the health services at the college for birth control. And they asked you a whole health history questionnaire. And I saw the box that said stomach problems, but I didn't want to check it. But my stomach was really in pain. By this point, it had really escalated to where I even would have to pull over sometimes and go in the bushes. That's how urgent it could be at this stage of the game, because your body just keeps wanting your attention. So it just kept screaming louder and louder. So I went in on the birth control visit. I didn't want to check stomach, so I skipped it, just like on a test, and I answered all the other things. And then I made my body a deal that if my stomach was still hurting after I filled everything else out, that I would check that box. And it was. So I did. I checked it. I saw a doctor there for a semester. We tried eliminating different foods. There just wasn't a pattern. Some days I could eat dairy, no problem. Some days I would eat dairy and very much a problem. We couldn't find a pattern, so he finally said, "You need a specialist." And I went to the doctor, but before I could even get the results, I couldn't drive to school. I didn't have the energy and the pain was too strong. So I drove to a friend's house and she called the doctor for me. They said, come in.
So, what was the turning point in your healing journey?
I had a few. I would say the first one, although I wouldn't have looked at it at the time, was I had a spiritual experience in the hospital. So I get admitted. It was very scary for me. Get whisked out of your life, put in this gown, put in this room, and here, do whatever we say, basically. Um, and I had a spiritual experience that night that I didn't really pray, but I often don't. This was desperation. I was just snot crying, like just 6 years of tears just coming out of me, pouring out of me. And I felt an incredible comfort mid sob, like a like a force, but like a blanket, a comfort, a power that somehow was above the entire situation, but also a part of me. And so I just dried my tears and I felt peace. Even though none of my circumstances had changed, I felt like everything was just going to be okay. So the next day, get diagnosed, and my doctor, amazing doctor, I wish everybody would have this doctor, gives me the bad news. You have Crohn's, don't know what causes it, so we can't cure it. But we can put you on these meds, we'll maintain it. You'll have remissions, you'll have flare ups, you'll have good days and bad days. This will be life for you for the rest of your life. And he goes to leave, gives me my prescriptions, and goes to leave. And then I'm looking out the window, processing this. He hadn't left, evidently, and said, I seem to have two groups of patients with this disease. I have the one group that listens to everything I just told you, and it's true for them. They suffer. But I have the second group of patients. They ignore everything I say, and they get better. And the only thing I can see the difference between those two groups is a decision. And then he left. And I was like, what? Like you just gave me a sentence, like a life sentence, and now it's a question? Like, what's going on? So the nurse steps in, the doctors give you the direction, and then the nurse helps you implement. So the nurse stepped in and she said, so which group do you want to be in? And I'm like, really? Like, I want to be in the second group. Like, I don't want this. I'm like, is this real? And she's like, good, glad to hear it. And she pulls out of her scrubs a little notepad, scribbles something down, rips it out. Here's where you start, she says, and she hands it to me. I go, okay. So she leaves. I'm like, what's on this piece of paper? Like a password, like a secret knock to the clubhouse? What's it going to be? And I look and it's a book. It's the name of a book. And it's called Fit for Life. A book, a diet book. I was malnourished. I was underweight. I couldn't hardly eat anything. And what I did eat didn't stay in me. And you want me to go on a diet? Like, this makes no sense. But that would end up making a lot of sense just a little further down the road.
The doctor said the second group doesn't hear anything that I say and they get better. Why do you think that he meant when he was saying those words?
I'm really glad you mentioned that because it's such a pivotal moment and it deserves to be understood because it's the moment. Of my 7 steps that I use to heal, decision is step 1. Me deciding how is this going to go for me was pivotal. Without any decision, nothing really happens. This two groups thing has been around for a very long time. even back in tuberculosis days, Norman Cousins talks about getting misdiagnosed with TB and going into a sanitarium. There were two groups in the sanitarium. There was the one group that had accepted that life was going to be miserable, that this disease was the end of all of their good times, and they had succumbed to that prognosis. And he said, that's always the group that tries to get you first. But the second group, he said, was like, I'll decide how this is going to go for me. Maybe the doctor's right. Maybe not. Maybe I will die. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll never get better. Maybe I will. So it's been around. You look at cancer patients. Another great example. Some get the prognosis of 6 months to live, and that's what they have. Other people get that prognosis and go, we will see about that. And they start living as if they only had 6 months to live. And then they just keep living.
And they live for a year or even more. Or even
Even
some of them
more.
get cured.
Yes. I
Yeah.
just talked to a woman the other day. It's been a year. She says they like to say 3 years before you're cancer free, but it's been a year and nothing's showing up on her scans whatsoever. So there is evidence of this once we start looking and once we start wanting
That's true.
what we look for.
You said that so well. For everything, there's always two groups. If the doctor says something to someone like, you have diabetes, the first group is like, I have diabetes. I'm a diabetic person. And the other group is like you. No, no. I will fix that.
Yes, it's written in pencil for some of us. Others, it's a tattoo.
Yes.
Tattoos are very hard to change.
Yes. Was there a specific moment when you realized that a holistic approach was the key for you to heal yourself?
Another great question. So, yeah, I actually took that nurse's suggestion and put it on my fridge with a magnet because I was sure I knew what it was, and I was sure I didn't need it. I was so sure of both of those things. Also, as a busy student, I'm a junior now, and so classes are getting tougher, and I just want to take the pills. It's easier to just pop, swallow, go about my day. But that didn't work for me. I kept ending up in the emergency room. We were far from an emergency room. That was a 30-minute drive. And they pumped me full of more treatment, send me home. And after a few cycles of this, I felt like I was on like that carousel at the fair that you feel when you're a kid. You're like, I'm moving, the horse is going up and down, but you're not. You're just going in this circle. And I felt like that. And I thought, I got to break out of this. Like, there's nothing new in this cycle for me. So that was the first. Again, everything starts with decision. So even that was a decision. Then I'm advancing in my psychology degree, and I'm learning about the placebo effect. The placebo effect is two groups of patients given medication. One group is told, this is medicine, and it is. And the other group is told, this is medicine, and it's a sugar pill, literally a tablet of sugar. And they gave them to both groups, and 70% of the people in the placebo group got better. I remember hearing that, and like, by that time I had started to do Fit for Life. So I think what brought me into the Fit for Life was my other ways weren't working. So I started experimenting. I thought, what do I have to lose? I'm already sick and miserable. So I started experimenting with Fit for Life. And the beauty of it about proper food combining is they really give you baby steps. They're like, look, you don't have to do this whole book. Do this one thing. Just make this one step, and amazing results will happen. Well, that's a heck of a deal. So I took it. And they also had a chapter in there called You Are What You Think You Are. And I'd never considered that before. That somehow I knew thoughts were powerful. I'd never considered them in the realm of what I was dealing with. So that was a seed. So I kind of took that and went, you are what you think you are. Wow. That's interesting. That'll send you into existential crisis. And then I started doing the simple food combining step that they mentioned, which is just eating fruit in the morning. And I was starting to feel better. So then I have the seed of you are what you think you are. Then I learn of the placebo effect. And I'm like, wow, thoughts are so powerful. Belief is so powerful that if somebody believes something will make them better, it actually did. Okay, I need to start dealing more with my thoughts. So if my first step was decision, my second step was nutrition, my third step became excavation. Well, I wanted to learn where my thoughts, if I needed to deal with my thoughts, where are they coming from? Where do these beliefs lie? Why am I this way? I tried to change things about myself behaviorally that often didn't work. So I knew there was like this iceberg, right? Plus, I'm in psychology. I'm learning about the subconscious, very powerful, the subconscious. How am I going to get to the conscious? Started going to therapy and journaling. And it's a little like throwing up. Like you don't want to do it, but you feel so much better after you get it out. And I started to see these patterns. I had a story in my head that I was failing the treatments. That was my thought. And the therapist said, "Are you failing the treatments or are the treatments failing you?" Well, that's a totally different thought. I hadn't thought about that. Oh, maybe I'm not failing. Maybe they're so I started to examine them more. And I looked at some things that I was thinking and holding that were not helpful for me and that I needed to change if I was going to get better. And finding Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, she gave a metaphysical causation for my disease that came from my childhood, which was like a target for those thoughts, for me to narrow my focus there.
Do you think that emotions are connected with health issues? For example, in this case, some experts in bioneuroemotion or biodecodification say that if you are suffering from some sickness in your stomach or in your gut, basically in your digestive system, it's because you have a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of unprocessed emotions that you are keeping stored into your gut, into your stomach. What do you think?
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, we even have sayings for it, like, felt it in my gut. Oh, what a gut punch. Listen to your gut, follow your gut. We've been talking about it for a while. I love that science is going, it actually has its own brain, it has its own nervous system. So, yes, I had a lot of anger and sadness. The specific metaphysical causation for me was a great need for affection, over exacting parents, and just feelings of oppression and defeat. And I think those things all go together. So, love was performance based in my upbringing. So, I had to do things to earn that. And so, it always had me chasing and very insecure about it because it was like a carrot I could never quite grasp. And that I very much became angry about that as I got older. I think when I was younger, it was more of a sadness. And then when I got into adolescence, it was very much an anger. I also didn't have a lot of say in my life. I was treated like a little kid up until I moved out when I was 17. I never really gained the freedoms that my peers gained. So I never had agency over my life. I was always either rebelling or sneaking around. There was never a way for me to test out who I was in a safe environment. I was very angry about that, angry and exhausted of always trying to be heard and nobody hearing. So yes, very much those emotions. And the beauty of therapy and journaling is they get to be heard. That's a safe space. So I could start to explore them. I could start to speak them. Like monsters under the bed. That's what I think of, like emotions. Those emotions you mentioned. Remember when we were kids and we thought there were monsters under the bed? And but when you turned the light on or the sun came out, suddenly nobody talked about monsters under the bed, right? I think of those emotions like the monsters under the bed. Once we bring them to the light, once we feel safe, they go away. They dissipate like dew, and they don't hold power over us. They hold power in the dark. But once we look at them and start processing them, that's a lot of their power just goes away. And I found that anger is actually fear with armor, because fear is vulnerable. But anger can be equated with strength even. So, or power. So I think anger sometimes is safer. It's safer to be angry. It's safer to yell and be mad than to cry. We usually do when we're all alone. So I think once you peel back anger, you find out it's vulnerability and it's fear, and you can really heal it there. That's where the rupture was.
We have Crohn's disease and we have holistic healing. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about Crohn's disease that you often encounter or that you think that exist still?
Biggest misconception, there's many that I could name. The biggest one is that we don't know what causes it. Now, maybe medical science doesn't know what caused it, but that's one segment. So to take that as God's honest truth, I think does a disservice to people with the disease. Maybe one place hasn't figured it out, but other people have. And when we go metaphysical, when you just look physical, you're so limited. Look at what the body can do. Look at how much we even know about it. It's so limited. It starts dying as soon as you get here. It's just finite. So it's a vehicle. It's helpful to move around, but it doesn't really allow for a whole lot of nuance. Just deal with it in the physical realm is why you're not going to find very many answers. When you start looking to the mind body connection, there's actually a great book out right now called Your Body is Your Subconscious Mind. And that book says we've thought of the body as something stagnant, like a hunk of meat. It's something solid. It's actually more like a flickering flame. It changes, it mutates. So when you start looking, say, if you pivot a little from medical science to even quantum science, now we're getting into the realm of mind. I love how Joe Dispenza says it, that thoughts become your personality. And if you separate personality, you get personal reality. So this is why everybody with Crohn's is having a different experience of Crohn's or any chronic illness. We're actually not all alike. So I think the other misconception is to have one protocol because Crohn's disease says you can use this, 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 or this, doesn't allow for the nuance of the human being. And it's not very nimble. It's like, let's just deal with the physical side of it. But we know we're more than the physical. We know we're our emotions. We know our thoughts. We know we have a soul or a higher consciousness or a spirit. Why not include all of those in? Why not invite everyone to the party and see if somebody else has found an answer? Because I promise you, you start getting into the unresolved trauma, it's like a weed. So to come at Crohn's and snap it off, that's symptom management. Oh, you don't see it. Is it gone? Well, it looks like it's gone, but that we know weeds, right? It's just if you got the root in there, it might your lawn's going to look pretty for a little while. It's going to grow back. We can get to the root cause of it, and we can yank that weed out. It's an individualized treatment plan that we all need. Every body is different. Even if we all have the same diagnosis, we're different. First of all, nobody knows your body better than you. You're with it 24/7. So when a protocol is mentioned, are we making a partner with the person that knows their body best? Or are we just telling them, here, this is what you should do because this is what everyone else is doing? I think another misconception is that so a disease has symptoms, a disease is a symptom. We're an ecosystem. So it's a symptom of that system. Something in our emotions, something in our minds, something in our spirit. We need to include all of that in if we really want to heal.
For how many years have you been without issues? For how many years have you been free from Crohn's?
Well, college was a very long time ago. That was over 30 years. So I got diagnosed in college. I think it was 91. Developed my own healing method, and my remission started, graduated in 92. Yeah, 93 or 94, over 30 years since I've had any symptoms with it. I didn't even think about Crohn's, which is wild because it used to define me. And then it went to not even being in my vocabulary until I help other people. But really, in my day, I don't even think about it that much.
How your life start changing?
Wow, it changed so much. My life changed even before I was really in remission because my other steps were to deal with those thoughts. So I went from excavation to using affirmations so that I could think better thoughts. Meditation was my next step so I could quiet those thoughts and get the answers in the stillness. Even at the beginning of my remission, I changed jobs. So I was in a job that wasn't really using my talents the best, but the pay was pretty good. So I was staying. When you get a new lease on life, it's kind of like those cancer patients, right? So the treatment that I convinced my doctor to try against his better judgment, but I was so certain, I was so clear, I was so confident that he agreed to it. And he's like, oh, you'll probably only get 6 months. Well, I couldn't get 6 weeks. So 6 months seemed like a long time. So if I only had those 6 months, how was I going to live them? So I got a different job, one that I felt I was making more change. I felt more in line with my skills. I was engaged to a man at the time who, through a lot of my excavating, I realized that that was not really a great choice. We were engaged. And I remember thinking, is he really Mr. Right if I've gotten with him for all the wrong reasons? Like from my childhood, he was a safe choice. So that changed my relationship. We actually didn't get married, which was may not sound like a great change, but it was because we were not a good match. So I got the different job. I moved to a city that I loved, and I just felt like, yes, I'm going for it. I started traveling. I never would have traveled before. I would have been too scared. So I got a passport. I started traveling. I started dating. Dating's really hard when you have a digestive disorder. It's hard with any chronic illness, but those safeties we're talking about, like, this is not good stuff to talk about. So my dating, I had more confidence. Yeah, I just felt like my life, like the world just opened for me, where I was living in this little safe corner. Then the world just really, it really did seem like my oyster. And I just went everywhere and just did whatever I experienced everything without fear. I stopped carrying extra clothes. I stopped wondering where the bathroom was or running to it or making up excuses that I had to go to the bathroom again. I'd have to make up an excuse or for how long I was in there. I even took up smoking so that if I had gas, I could cover it up. I mean, these are the coping mechanisms. So I didn't have to smoke anymore. That was good.
And are you still going to the doctor for your tests?
I went to a doctor, I think I was maybe 10 years into my remission, different doctor, and she tried telling me I must have been misdiagnosed. Like she really didn't know how to handle. Yeah, I don't know that a lot of doctors know how to handle total recovery from something that they've been told is impossible. I think it takes a certain doctor. Um, So no, I don't tend to go or even talk about it with doctors if I go for something else because it's really not a factor of my life. And then they're just going to want me to go back into that system with it. And I don't feel that I need to do that. I can just keep following my gut.
So this new doctor, she told you you don't have Crohn's disease. You were misdiagnosed.
I said I haven't had symptoms for 10 years. She goes, "Well, you were clearly misdiagnosed." Well, you should see my scope. I had it everywhere. I was a very, very severe case. There wasn't a part of my digestive system that it did not affect.
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah. I have seen one recently that I like. I do like him. He teaches at the college. So he's a bit more innovative and on the cutting edge, if you will. And he just loves it. We have great conversations. I more go to talk to him so that he can share it with his other patients.
Yes. You know, your story should be heard by everyone because it's an autoimmune inflammatory chronic disease that it's forever. And the doctor at that time told you you were misdiagnosed. How powerful is that?
Yeah. You know, we all have a bias. So that doctor, if she hadn't been exposed to healing or to metaphysical causation or the mind body connection, she wouldn't have a reference. It's like you have to have the words to be able to understand it. I think probably Joe Dispenza before his motorcycle accident probably did chiropractic completely differently. Like you have to have a reference for healing to even be able to entertain it. So yeah, if anyone listening has not had a doctor tell you that there are two groups of patients, I'm telling you there are, and you are really free to choose which one. And then also it brings up the partnership needed with a practitioner, right? It needs to be a good match. They're consultants. Anyone you go to see, it's a I'm consulting. I'm going in, I'm going to present my information. I need a consult. What do you think? But ultimately, the decision needs to be ours. It's our body. I had doctors tell me all along the journey, you shouldn't be eating that way. You shouldn't take that. Either I shouldn't be eating that way, it'll make it worse, or why are you taking a probiotic? There's no statistical significance for that. Well, I don't need statistical significance. I'm me. And if it works for me, it's significant. So I'm my own laboratory and I'm my own researcher. I'm the rat. Like I'm the one trying things and figuring it out. That's where I think science serves best, where it's asking a question, not giving a mandate. Science doesn't know a lot of things. That doesn't mean they're not possible. I don't think it should ever be our only thing. Healing is more of an art than science. So we're kind of a landscape or even a canvas. Like these emotions and things and thoughts we're talking about, those are all get to be paint on our canvas. And healing is more nuanced. It needs to be considered that way, that we're honoring a creative process. So we're going to use curiosity. We're going to use imagination. Just because we don't know, we're going to try it and then we're going to pay attention and see what happens.
For all that people that are told that Crohn disease is only manageable with medication or with surgery, what would you say to them or to someone who feels stuck in that mindset?
I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to just manage it or do you want to break free from it? That's the first question because those are different paths. To manage it, you're free to do that. They do have some good treatments out there. They all have a lot of side effects. The side effects are often the same as the symptom that it's treating, but that is an option. I'd say there's also the healing option. There's the second group, and it's free for the taking. And our health is free for the making. Nobody has authority or agency over us but us. They can only suggest or encourage or advise. But at the end of the day, those decisions need to be our own. So just because medical science has decided that it's only manageable doesn't mean it is. That's not the end of the story. I would encourage anyone to find more stories. There's so many, not just healing stories, but they told the Wright brothers they were crazy to want to build an airplane. And now look, we get on a plane without even thinking about it. The world's just full of invention and creation. And I think if medical science and treatments of chronic diseases could move more to that side of things, I think a lot more things would happen. There's a lot more availability in the artistic realm and in the holistic realm. It reminds me of social work when I started. We would only deal with the problem child. This is the problem, right? This is the kid acting up in school, not doing his homework, getting bad grades, right? Let's fix the kid. But it didn't work because the kid is part of a family, it's part of a neighborhood, right? Disease is exactly like that. It's part of a greater system. So to look at the whole system, you're going to find a whole lot more answers. You're going to find a whole lot more available options when you're looking holistically. The mind is very powerful. I think we discount it. We give the body a lot of credit and we give the mind kind of very little credit. I would flip those things. Like the body, I'd put that kind of low. I put the mind, like what the mind can accomplish with thought, with consistent thought. Even at West Point, where they train military, they use affirmations. They tell them to write it on a Post-it note and put it on a door frame and say it to themselves every time they go through that door frame. So it's not just medical. We know that our thoughts are powerful. And starting there, starting in the mind is unlimited. And then when you look to the spirit with a power greater than yourself, even if that's your intuition or your healthy self can be a power greater than yourself, now you've got company, you've got reinforcement.
What role does emotional healing play in healing this condition?
Huge. I talk to people all the time that have Crohn's or colitis, and they'll tell me, oh, I know exactly what upsets my stomach. And they'll even tell me this is how I handle it. This is how I reconcile those emotions or those stressors so it doesn't flare me. Crohn's is very well known. Gut diseases are very well known to be associated with emotions. And people get upset stomachs because of something they think or something they feel. So yeah, if thoughts can make us upset, if you thought a bad thought all the time, you'd probably start crying or get upset. If they can make us upset and sick, then they can absolutely be turned around to make us well. Everything starts in the mind. Like even if I'm go to eat, that's a decision I've made. Like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to go do something about it. I've actually been hungry for like an hour, but nothing happens until I decide, right? So the body isn't the dictator. As soon as I got hungry, I'd be like, oh my God, there's my stomach. I have to go follow it. It's going to order on DoorDash. No, nothing happens without my mind. Nothing. Everything we've done, we've made a decision to do it. And if we take responsibility for that decision, like nobody can affect my health more than me. And nobody can think my thoughts for me. And no one can tell me what to feel. There's a great thing called E plus R equals O. So the event plus the response equals the outcome. We don't usually have a lot of control over the events, but we do have a lot of control over our response. And in that response, that's going to determine our outcome. So if we learn to process our emotions, if we need to regulate our stress and our nervous system, those things absolutely tie into that gut disease. Crohn's is very well known for that.
What are some of the most effective tips or lifestyle changes that have helped you and your clients?
The first one was the fit for life, the food combining. So a lot of emphasis for Crohn's and colitis is on what you're eating and not eating certain foods or eating more of other foods, although a lot of people can't agree on which those foods are. Like some people are like, don't eat this. No, you can eat this. And there's protocol around that. What I love about proper food combining is you can actually eat whatever you want. It's a matter of how we pair those foods. So it's not what we're eating, it's how we're eating it. So when you pair certain foods together, they work really well together, and other ones do not. I think of it like traffic. If you look at food moving through your digestive system, think of it like flowing traffic. We love it when we're in nice flowing traffic, right? Everyone's going the speed limit, we're just moving along. There's a way to eat where that happens. And then we know traffic where you're in a Lamborghini and you get behind, some very slow, big, we'll say like an RV. What happens? Oh my gosh, that fast thing has to slow down. There's probably going to be a lot of honking. There's going to be a lot of upset, a lot of distress. Exactly the same thing in our digestive system. When foods that process together are eaten together, the traffic moves through very smoothly. But if you take something that takes a long time, like protein, it's going to take 3.5 hours to move through you. And then you put it with fruit, it's going to take about 30 minutes. Now you've got that Lamborghini coming up behind that RV, and it's just going to honk. It's going to get mad. It's going to get distressed. So we eat in harmony and things move smoothly. Those indigestions are signals to us from our body. They're like a love language. They're like, hey, that's not working for us. And then no symptoms are like, yes, that is working for us. So that's a very big step that I took. I actually have a free resource for your listeners for how they could get started with that very easily. It's a very simple strategy. Gives so much freedom and confidence around your food. I would say that's the first step. And then you get into more dealing with your thoughts, the journaling, if you want to get a therapist, really start looking at how you are thinking and how that's showing up in your body. And we unearth those things and they're in there. It's like your body's like a basement, a chiropractor once tell me. She's like, it's storing everything that you didn't know how to deal with. And it just packs it away for you until you're ready. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're ready. Like something comes in and starts showing us, hey, I could release this. This is a safe space. And then from that one safe space, we start creating more safe spaces where we can start to release the stuff that our body's begging us to let go of. Your body's a communication device, really. And it starts with a whisper, and it'll get louder and louder until you listen. Cancer is your body screaming at you. Please do something. If you talk to a lot of cancer survivors, I would bet money they're as grateful for their cancer as I am for my Crohn's. It showed me that the way I was living, all A's, ambitious, driven, was not good for me. I thought I was doing great. Like, oh my gosh, I'm on honor roll. I'm going to school full time. I'm working full time. I'm commuting an hour. I'm Wonder Woman, right? No, I'm a human being. And I have needs for rest and for comfort. And I don't have to be the best at everything, nor can I be. It's a very humbling experience. And when we use it properly, it actually takes us way higher and better than we ever could have gotten on our own.
How do you approach gut healing from an holistic perspective? Are there any key practices that you swear by?
So definitely the food combining. I'm still a big fan. 30 some years later, only eat fruit in the morning. I'm not that religious with it other times. My body's pretty good now. I can pretty much mix and match as I like. So it might not be something you have to do forever. But I usually get people doing those baby steps to give us quick wins. So eating fruit only in the morning, hydrating outside of your meals. We don't want to have a big glass of water diluting our digestive juices or killing our digestive fire. We want all of that helping that digestion. That's very Ayurvedic medicine. Get into a place that, with me, people feel safe so they can process the emotions that they oftentimes think, well, this has nothing to do with my gut. And then we start talking about it, and they're like, oh my gosh, this has a lot to do with my gut, right? So processing that, just like that therapist did for me, sometimes just a little change in perspective, and you see something completely differently. When we're sick, it's very easy to look at our lives through a microscope, right? This narrow view of this one part of our body, not just our body, but this one part of our body right here that's not working. And we focus on it and we measure it. And our days are determined by if we feel good or don't feel good, right? If we use a telescope and we widen that view and we see that that's just one part of our body, that's just one segment of our situation. Those are some thoughts we're having, but that we're actually a part of a bigger system and that we're all connected. I love to just get people, instead of looking down at yourself like this, so focused, zooming out and noticing other things about your day that aren't that. And maybe that is still happening. But should we just discount everything else about our lives because we're sick? I wouldn't give it that much power to dictate my movements and what I do. I'm going to find ways, and I encourage my people to find ways to look at. Is there always something going wrong? Yes. There's also a lot of things going right. And we can stoke that joy and stoke that peace I even changed, like, think of your bathroom like an ashram. Like, if you're spending a lot of time in there and you're all alone, instead of maybe doom scrolling on the socials, why not use it as a time to fortify your mind? Or if you are going to be on socials, are you following people that are witnessing what you want? Because when I went to a support group with Crohn's and colitis when I was sick, nobody in there really wanted to get better. They were talking about how to live with the disease. So find references of people that are overcoming the impossible. You want to overcome the impossible? Find other people that are overcoming their impossible and use that for motivation and encouragement. So on those days when you're like, is healing even accessible for me? When you find somebody else that's overcome something, I mean, all of my socials make me feel good. And if they don't, I don't follow them. They need to be where I'm going and lighting my path for me. Those are the only people I'm interested in. So be very careful on our inner and outer environments, that it is supporting our goals. There's a lot of affirmation apps. I used to use books. Now I have an app on my phone. It pops up an affirmation for me. Amazing. Can't miss it. Right there. I carve out time to meditate. The morning and evening, I think, are great times. You can do mini meditations throughout the day. I encourage mindfulness. We're often in a different time. We're either in the past, we're thinking about the future. You come into something like making coffee or brushing your teeth, and you're fully mindful in that moment. It is delicious. Like, it is calming. It is centering. Sometimes it's not something we have to do. In addition, it's all the things that we're doing that are in the way. We're thinking about it. We're thinking about the past. We're wondering about the future. We're missing the only time there is, which is this moment. When I'm fully present, I will receive inspiration. I will receive solutions that I swear were not there and that I could not think my way towards. And listen to your gut and listen to it in ways. So a treatment is a big thing to listen to it on. You can start by listening to it in other ways. Like, what should I wear today? What time should I get up? Who should I hang out with later? If we leave room in our life for the divine to come in, it's amazing. But you've got to leave a little bit of space instead of telling things. Leave some room for that to come in and guide you. We don't have to figure it all out. We just listen to its guidance. Find ways to listen. I have a playlist that helps me do that. I have books I read. I have parts of books that I read that help me do that. I've got all my little things that I love, you know? I have some clothes that help me do that, that I keep for certain days. We can cultivate our entire existence to guide us and to heal us. Those very things that caused my disease ended up being the things that healed me. It's like all those survival skills from trauma got cleansed. So my fierce independence, where I was like, I don't need anyone's help. Now that independence serves me because I found my own way out of this illness. So sometimes even those traits that we don't like about ourselves can be changed and actually be beneficial.
Do you follow some specific method to approach healing?
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, I couldn't find a solution, so I made one. And that's exactly what happened with me with Crohn's. So there really wasn't a method to follow. I mean, their method was take this and hope that it works. I created my own method. I call it the gut instincts healing method. And there are 7 steps to it. So the first step is that decision that I'm going to be in the second group. I'm going to get better. I don't know how I'm going to get better. I don't know when I'm going to get better. I don't know where I'll find my help, but I am going to get better. I believe that. You have to believe it first, and then it shows up. So it's like that saying, I'll believe it when I see it, is actually opposite. You'll see it when you believe it. So that's the first step. Believe in healing, believe it's possible. Second step was the nutrition. So clearly, digestive disease, had to address how I was eating, but the ways that they were telling me to eat was not working for me. So I found a book on proper food combining that puts foods that digest well together, eaten together. And that gave me some immediate relief. Enough of an encouragement. It didn't take away all of my symptoms, but it lessened them. And that was so encouraging. That was validating me like, okay, we're on to something. Third step was the excavation. That once I figured out that there was metaphysical causations to my disease, that my thoughts and my mind was subconsciously affecting my body, then I needed to get to that root, right? I needed to dig and find out what were some of these thoughts and beliefs that were down there that I wasn't even aware of, but my body was acting out. The fourth step was affirmation. So if my thoughts are creating my reality and being manifested in my body, then I really need to work with my thoughts. I needed other thoughts. I needed more positive thoughts, affirming thoughts. And even though I didn't believe things are always working out for me, I'm healing, my body is strong, it didn't matter. I just used them anyway. I acted as if that was true, and it started to become true for me. Those thoughts replaced my negative thoughts, which is a great feeling, and your body responds to. The next step was the meditation. So we have decision, nutrition, excavation, affirmations, meditation. Fifth one is meditation, where I realized almost accidentally, this was in one of my programs that I did a meditation with kids, and I read it for them, but my body and mind responded. My mind calmed, my belly calmed. Both of them seemed to like it. So I started to do it more. And answers came in the quiet, like, you should go here. And then I went to education. So I found out from somebody that there was actually information out there, and I started digging through that information. But I was listening to my gut as I did it. Like, oh, is that right for me or not right for me? That was the start of me developing my intuition. And when I found something that was right for me, my seventh step kicked in, with which was my advocacy. So even though my doctor didn't think that that was the right method for me, I was so clear and certain and confident that it was, that I actually convinced him to try it. And that ended up sparking my remission. So that was my following my gut to heal my gut.
Would you recommend some spiritual practices besides mindfulness or combine it with mindfulness?
Yeah, some other spiritual practices that you can do with mindfulness. I say thank you a lot. Gratitude is an incredibly powerful force. Incredible. I don't know if there's a faster track to happiness than gratitude. I test it all the time. I'll be like, not really feeling it. And then I'll find just one thing I'm grateful for, and it changes my mood. And the great thing about gratitude, it likes company. So you'll think of one thing you're grateful for, and then I also like, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. And wouldn't it be great if we could have conversations around that with people? Like, what are you grateful for today? I'm grateful for this. Like, we save it for one time of the year, like Thanksgiving, but I think gratitude deserves a daily practice. And so, those mindful moments, whatever I'm doing, I can be grateful for that. Be like, wow, I have coffee to make today. I'm so glad I found this coffee. I really like this cup. This is really cool. Nature is another big one for me. Like, nature's just waiting for us to come out there and connect to something greater. Like, plants in your house change the air that you breathe. It's a beautiful relationship. They live on our exhale, they clean the air for our inhale. It's a beautiful thing. So, to be in nature, I would say an hour a day and watch your health change. Maybe that's a walk, maybe that's going out on the water. For me, it's the beach, a hammock, a bike ride. A bike ride can fix what nothing else can fix for me. I love biking. And I have a whole playlist. I have one soft space to land if I'm going through a hard time. I've got my pump up ones if I need to really get excited and motivated. I have my travel music. I just have all these different playlists that speak to me. I have a photo album on my phone that I can go to when I need inspiration and encouragement. I cultivate my world to be supportive. I want to be with people that I think that's a spiritual practice and a holistic practice. Who are we hanging out with? Are they aligned with what we're trying to do? Do we feel better and more expansive when we're with them, or do we feel less? Sometimes movies will do that for me. I can go to a great movie and find inspiration in that. My kitty does that a lot because my kitty has like his own mind and his own things, and he just loves laying in a sunbeam and or watching the birds play outside. That's it just reminds me to slow it down. Prince would say this to his band members because imagine the frenzy of like being on stage and all of these people and all of this intense energy, and it can get to be a little much. And he would tell them when that happens to cut themselves in half. Like whatever speed you're at, cut it in half. If you're in fourth gear, drop down to two. And he's like, keep dropping gears until you find yourself again. Some days are going to be you're in fifth gear, you're in overdrive, you're just cruising along. Some days, whether we have a chronic illness or not, there's a rhythm to life. Some days are just going to be slower, lower gears, and we're more tucked in. Whatever gear we're in, to accept that, to just accept. I think we think acceptance means we're condoning this. It just means we're not going to be in conflict. I'm going to accept that this moment is how it is. I'm not going to fight with it. And then my next step after acceptance is to see it as a gift. Like, what is in here for me? Everything that happened in my life today was a gift. Whether I can see that right now or not, it was or it wouldn't be happening. So when I change my mindset is accepting and finding out what that gift is, it's just a whole other way to move through the world. It's more of a connective and a flowing way to move through the world as opposed to a, I want this. I can't have it. Why isn't my body doing what I want? Why isn't the treatment working? Why doesn't my doctor listen to me? We have to be really careful of being a victim, even if it looks like we're very right to be that, right? So there was a time when I was saying my Crohn's, and I had a friend say, maybe you shouldn't put my in front of it. Like, maybe that's too close of an affiliation. So just even that little change of, oh, it's Crohn's, but it's not my Crohn's. I don't own it and I don't have to keep it. So there's lots of little ways that we can make a shift, right? And those little shifts can lead to huge changes.
If you could travel to the past and you could visit that Jennifer that was in college, nearly diagnosed with Crohn's disease, what you would tell to her? What kind of advice would you say to her? And for all that people that can feel identified with that Jennifer that was nearly diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Wow, I would have believed that nurse sooner. I definitely suffered another year ignoring what somebody gave me as the first step in my healing journey because I didn't think. Like my ego got in the way, right? Like, well, I think I know what a fit for life is. And I think I know that I don't need that. Even though a nurse who deals with this disease all the time suggested it, I thought I knew better. And I wasn't willing to be wrong about that. So I wasn't willing to take the help with that. If I would have done that sooner, I would have just gotten better sooner. I would have gotten to my great life. I would have reclaimed my life sooner and suffered a lot less. So even if something doesn't look like the answer, I would tell myself, try it for a week, which is what I eventually did tell myself, right? Like, you don't have to do it forever. Like, let's just see. The proof is in the pudding, right? So that's probably the other thing I would tell her is just try it. I spend a lot of time like overthinking and overanalyzing and what about this and will it work or won't it? When at the end of the day, your body knows. So if you try it and if it's not for you, you'll know. And if it is for you, you'll also know. So just adopting that experimentation mindset earlier too.
Open your mind, open yourself to the possibility that you can get better.
Yes, even if you don't know how that would be. One of my favorite things, I think it's from Esther Abraham Hicks, where she talks about us being in a co-creative partnership with God, the universe, whatever you want to call your higher power. And so we have a desire, right? And we'll look at what we want and why we want it. Okay, I want to be healed. Why? Because I want to spend time with my family. I want to go see the world. I want to have energy for my hobbies, not just the minimal to get through the day, right? And then we go, well, how's that going to happen? Oh, I don't know. Well, when's it going to happen? I don't know. Where is it going to come from? Where's it going to take me? Where will I end up? I don't know. So I shut down my what and my why because I don't know the how, when, and where. But our relationship with spirit is we're just the what and the why. It's like a drum I'm beating. What do I want? Why do I want it? What do I want? Why do I want it? That's my part of the partnership. The universe does the how, what, when, and where. So I want to stick with what I want, why I want it. So I always ask people, what do you want? They all say the same thing. I want to get rid of this disease. Why do you want it? And then we get really good on the why. And they almost don't want to do it because they think they can't have it. But we do it anyway. What would a healed life look like? And just dream. Dream really big and then just stay there. The how, the when, the where, that's all going to come to you. But if you don't do the what and the why, that won't ever happen. So I think we shut down what we want because we don't know how we're going to get it. I think the great practice is I just kept saying, I want to feel better. I want to feel better. If I would have stayed in that support group, I wouldn't have ever felt better. I just would have stayed with people that were trying to live with the disease and figure out their favorite flavor of meal replacement shakes. I wanted more than that. Yeah, I know, it's a bad conversation. There isn't any meal replacement shake that's a good one. Or what brand was better? I was like, these aren't my people. I need to find the people that want to really heal.
Jennifer, the people that is listening us right now, where they can find you to contact you and to know more about you and to work with you.
I'm in a few places, so you can find me on Instagram, Jennifer Juniper Healing. I believe that's also what I am on Threads. I have a Facebook page, if that's more your flavor, Gut Instincts Healing by Jennifer Juniper. My home method is called the Gut Instincts Healing Method. Follow your gut to heal your gut. So I post a lot around that. And then I have a website, jenjuniper.com. You can go check that out as well. And I'm happy to give you the link in the show notes for the free food combining guide. So the thing about the free food guide is that then you get on my newsletter list. I email 2 to 3 times a week. I'm always telling little stories for inspiration and information. I have a mindset wellness in there, and I have a book coming out, Gut Instincts, that will be out this fall. And yeah, if you follow me on all those things, I will be talking about it. And if you get on my email list, you'll never miss it because it'll come right to your inbox. You'll know all about it.
Do you make retreats?
I have not done a retreat yet. So right now I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I am pivoting that model because I think groups are very powerful and we can learn from each other and it can go so much faster and even be more fun. I'm going into a group coaching program that'll be starting soon. I'm working on a course that people could take. So right now it's one-on-one, and then yeah, eventually I would love to do healing retreats, maybe in Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you are welcome. Count me.
Okay.
I can help. And I would love to participate with you in your things, you know?
I would love that.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today and your journey as well. Your insights are truly inspiring, and I know that they will resonate with so many people looking for a new way to approach healing. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone that you think that might need this message. And don't forget that she is Jennifer Juniper, and she is on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. She have a website, she have a newsletter that you can subscribe and you will get a guide, a free guide. And also she's the author of a book that is coming. So thank you very much. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and don't forget to stay connected with yourself and feel your gut.